I promise you that with the last activity, we just end up with the syntax tree. I know at first might be a little bit easy to understand, but eventually, as you have seen, it becomes harder and harder and harder. But anyway, today we are gonna be talking about the way to formulating the message. Inside of our brain, there is something that is called lexis, that are all the words. It's like the mental dictionary that is inside of our head. But when we're trying to formulate some sentences, some linguistics usually agrees that uh, those thoughts are related with dictionaries. So that means that lexicographers, the ones that write their dictionary, are called like this, lexicographers. They locate the meaning in dictionary definitions. So that's why maybe if even in Spanish, if you don't know what is the meaning of a word, you just look over there, because they believe that it's important to be meaningful, right? To make sense, that the words and phrases must be about something without the symbolic connection. Because right here, I don't know if you can see the cursor. I think is the name of the mouse. I can remember what is the name of the cursor, but you can see the letter F, right? If you just focus on the letter F, it makes sense for us, because that this symbol make inside of our head, it makes and it produces a sound. So when you are formulating the message, it's important for that. Other people, of course, they believe and they locate the word meaning in the mind. So that means that maybe inside of our brain, we connect the ideas and we just create some concepts about the things that are happening around the world. And other people believe that this connection between the language and the world, right? So everything that is around or surrounding us makes sense for us, and we just create some words. Actually, this it makes a little bit. This makes sense for me, because I don't know if you can remember the story of the word kangaroo, the animal. As you can remember, in Australia, some people went there, and when they arrived at Australia, they ask, "What is the name of this animal?" And they mention kangaroo, and they say, "Oh, kangaroo," but they didn't know that people in their language, kangaroo means I don't know. So basically, the name of a kangaroo is I don't know what is that, right? So it makes sense because we just associate some words in with the context of the real world, right? So let's go a little bit deeper with this, because when we are creating or making meaningful messages, we are creating semanticity. I don't know if you remember what are semantics, but semantics is everything around or related with one field or category. So, for example, if I ask you the word school, I know that what comes to your mind are pencils, books, teachers, board, I don't know, all the things that are related with the school. So the human language can convey meaning is designed future by semanticity, right? So every time that you are creating words, you are associating inside of your head some of the words that you already know, some of the things that you have seen, and you just create a relationship between them to create something meaningful inside of you. So when we are producing or creating new messages, we are doing productivity, right? Because that means that we are creating or producing new content every time. And this is something that I like to say when I'm teaching English, is that you can fake exams or you can fake tests, but something that you can't fake is productivity. So everything that you are producing makes sense to me. And actually, these original things make uh, it's a mental process and a cognitive process that it involves creativity inside of you, right? So when you are creating new messages, you are doing productivity. So another thing is working with code. If you're watching this right here, the thing that you can see, you are actually understanding every single word that you can see. But how that, right? Because we are in Mexico and some countries that we have in common, we have the same codes. The letters that you can see right there for other people are just symbols. Like for example, you just watch how the Russians write, how the Chinese people writes, and all of them have different kind of codes. So working with the code is a very big important part of linguistics because in this case, we're just identifying and understanding what the message means. And this is what I'm talking about the previous classes, that it's impressive for me how inside of our brain we just make a relationship between a sound, a symbol, and the productivity. Right? That when you are producing a sound, you are producing this sound that has a sound, válgame la redundancia in English, and actually it's a symbol. So this actually is, let's pretend that this is your young brain. This is you when you were 2 or 3 years old and you were just adding new words to your brain. Inside of the brain, of course, some of the things that are happening at some period of your life is that you just see the letters, right? And this concept is what we are actually just identifying as the code, right? We were talking about working the code. So when you're young, you're working with the code, you just see the letters and they might have sense to you, or they may not, depending of your cognitive style or the thing that you are working on this. But what happened when you just make a relationship, as I mentioned before, with the symbols? I know that you can identify the symbols, and even if you don't see any word or there is any letter related, well, there are some letters related with this, but those are just some signs that you can see every single day in your life, and they make sense to you, right? Make you just associate these symbols with words that exist inside of your brain. So when these signs appear, some words are created into your brain to make a code and to create and produce and doing the productivity to produce a word, right? So I just have another more example right here. Imagine that this is you. You're just walking on the street and you just see this sign that says, Párese ahí, alto, right? I know that in this case, if you're driving, the most obvious thing that you're going to be doing is that you're going to park or you're going to stop your car. But at the same time, you just identify this word as stop, right? And this word becomes to your mind because it's part of the productivity that is inside of your head. You're just making the word and you are coding what this message is saying. So alto, maybe so for some people that doesn't really know how to read, it makes something, right? It's like when you go to the bathroom and you just see the sign, these two signs, one with a skirt and the other one no, and you just identify which bathroom belongs to you. So everything right here that I'm saying is that you're doing productivity, and of course you are associating with the semanticity all the words that you can identify with this. I know, and I think that with this example, it's a little bit easier to understand how linguistics works. So after this, let's go with the associating sound with meaning. So this is going to be called arbitrariness. So another elegant feature of the linguistic code is that the association between a sequence of sound and the meaning of that sequence is arbitrary. Okay, there's going to be a small activity related with this, and I think it's going to be funny for you. Another thing is looking for meaning in different ways. So to be meaningful, words and phrases must be about something. Without a symbolic connection to something else, a word or a phrase is just a sound wave. That something that the word or phrase represents, points to, and symbolizes is meaning. So a word or a phrase is something, and we just need to look the meaning of that. But what is going to be the process, right? Well, right here, I just have a small story that you can identify. So at first, maybe in the dictionary, as I was mentioning, the semantic word is going to be duck. And this duck is going to be a mammal that you are going to identify that barks, maybe big nose, or for pats, a tail with a lot of fur, and actually barks. I think that I mentioned that. And which we can just identify what is going to be a duck, right? So in the image A, you just look for a word. In the letter B, you're going to be identifying that word with a semantic. That is going to be a word that you are going to be producing inside of your head. So you are going to be associating the word duck with something that is in your head. But at the same time, there are a lot of varieties of ducks that you are going to identify as one. So that's why when you don't really know what kind of insect is one that you can see in your head, in your house, sorry, in this case, you're just going to say an insect, right? Because that word is not enough semantic. We don't associate this insect with a word that we can identify inside of our head. Okay, so basically this is going to be everything for this video. Yes, yes, this is going to be everything for this video. You're going to be having an activity that you can see in the sorry, in the Word document, and eventually you're gonna be having a week to complete it. So I think this is a good way to understand what is going to be, or how can you formulate the message, and how this formulation is going to be inside of our brain. Okay, so you're gonna be having an activity. If there is any doubt, just let me know it, and I will see you next week. Have a nice one.